You're listening to CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living. To learn more about who we are, what we do, and how we do it, call toll-free 1-866-928-3310, and we'll send you out a no-obligation information kit absolutely free. 866-928-3310. The CFRN Emini Futures Cast is now on Stitcher. Listen to us on your iPhone, Android phones, BlackBerry, and WebOS phone. Stitcher is smart radio for your phone. Find it in your app store or at Stitcher.com. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Are you ready, Steve? Andy? Yeah! Bert? Well, all right, fellas.
You're listening to CFRN, the Christian Financial Radio Network.
Today's broadcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download at www.audibletrial.com/CFRN. Over 85,000 titles. Choose from mystery, romance, religion, science, technology, business, New York Times bestsellers, even children's books. You name it, Audible has it. With 85,000 titles to choose from, you're sure to find the perfect audiobook for yourself or to give as a gift, and it's absolutely free. Just point your browser to audibletrial.com/CFRN. That's audibletrial.com/CFRN. And become a part of the audiobook revolution by downloading your free audiobook today. audibletrial.com/CFRN.
Hey, trader, want to get rich quick? Well, good luck with that. If, on the other hand, you actually want to learn how to trade, the place to be is www.CFRN.net. Tune in Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern for our daily devotional, and then spend the next 3 hours learning how it's done from professional traders who actually trade for a living. That's www.CFRN.net. Every trading day from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern. CFRN, a community of believers who trade for a living.
Good afternoon, traders, and welcome back to the CFRN Emini Futures Cast. This is the daily broadcast of Indeterminate Length, where we discuss all things Emini, along with some really big ideas on the finer points of trading gold, bonds, crude, sugar, the euro, and even T-bills. Joining us today from our studios in Boston, Mr. Michael Borth. From our trading desk in Chicago, Mr. Burton Schlichter. Now, to get things started, let's go to our host and founder in Studio A, overlooking South Mountain, America's largest city park. Here's Dwayne.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Today is Thursday, 2nd day of April, 2020. Got a little bit of a switcheroo on the schedule today. Today's Thursday, Dr. Tom Day. Michael has an appointment, so he's going to pop in just a few moments. He'll do a recap of what happened in the live training room. Then we're going to talk to Dr. Tom. Then we'll talk to John. And then I'm going to do a complete recap of all of the Logic 247 alerts, all of the Concierge Trade Alerts. If you can't see the screen that I have up right now, go to our homepage at CFRN.net. On the right-hand side of the page, click the big microphone, follow the instructions. You'll be registered in about 30 seconds, and that will give you one-click access to the show each and every day. If you're out of the office, away from the desktop, point any internet-connected browser to CFRN.net/live. There you'll find a live, real-time simulcast of the show as it unfolds. You'll also find us streaming live on YouTube, on Facebook, and Twitter. However, the first set of instructions I gave you, where you go to our home page and click the big microphone, that's the one that gives you access to the chat box. So that's the preferred method of connecting. This way you can participate in the discussion. You can ask questions at any point throughout the show, and we'll get an answer for you. Michael, are you with us?
I am indeed.
Okay. How about that? Pulled it off by 12:02.
Let me make sure I have my name put in correctly. I do. Yeah, 12:02.
So
That's
normally,
awesome.
guys, I talk for a bit, then Michael does the recap, then we talk to John, then I do the recap of the larger time frames. So today we're mixing it up just a little bit, as I explained. Tomorrow we'll be back to the regular schedule. Sir, it's all yours.
Okay.
Reminder, tonight is Partners Workshop. Now, if you're on the trial, you have access to everything we do, except the closed door meeting, Partners Workshop, every Thursday night. So if you have plans to become a passport holder, to become a member, get in touch with Valerie, because you want to make sure that you're in that workshop tonight, okay? Michael, that's John. I'll talk to you in a few minutes.
Okay.
So you go ahead and take care of what you got to do. I'll let him know.
Okay.
Hey, John.
Here we go.
Hey, yeah. Need to switch the schedule up a little bit today.
Good afternoon.
If you can come on at 1, all right?
At 1 o'clock.
Huge day today.
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, I just saw
Just crazy stuff going on with crude oil, and that made everything else react. So let me start out here. Minimize this. There we go. Okay. If you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go to the home page at CFRN.net, and there's green buttons in here that you can click that say free 5-day trial, proprietary indicators for free. Up here, there's another link right here. They all go to the same page, this page right here. Okay, on this page, all we ask for is your name, your email, your phone number. You can tell us the biggest trading challenge so we can tailor one-on-one training specifically for you. Hit the send button and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You must click on the confirmation link. Okay, if you don't click that link, we don't know that you took the free trial. Results. We all want results. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you got to read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today is the 2nd day of April, 2020. Today we made 39 ticks in the euro, 25 in crude, 1 in gold, and 28 on the ES. That put us up $853 per contract. And that's in 2 hours, 1 contract. And today, it took 26 minutes and 4 trades to get the goal for the day. I'm just putting 100 there. It was more than 100, but I don't know exactly what the number was because everything was moving so fast. And we took a total of 10 trades. On the month now, we're at $1,293. That's over 2 days, averaging $646 per contract per day. On the year, we're at $23,267. That's over 60 days, averaging $387 per contract per days. And I only made about 10% of the trades today. So you got to put it all in perspective. Now I'm going to go through stuff, but I'm not going to go through everything. I'm going to show you a bunch of the trades that set up, the trades that we actually did do, and just a bunch of things. Okay. The crude oil created havoc in the markets today. Today on gold, our first trade was a stop out right here. We stopped out -8 ticks. Next trade we missed was right there. There was another trade right in there. On this big move up, there was a trade there. I'm looking down at the slingshot. Okay, as I move this over, there was a trade there. And it tried to turn around, but it couldn't do it. A trade there. A trade there. Then it turned around and went the other way. This was a beautiful trade right here on that leg down. Then another one right there. Okay, then it got all choppy in here, and there really wasn't much to do. Okay, until we finally established a trend. We started a downtrend, gave a trade there, and a trade there, and then it flipped around and started an uptrend and gave a trade there, and it flipped back around, gave a trade there, a trade there, trade there, trade there, trade there. Now you got to watch the slingshot, because as I've been saying, yeah, well, nobody's buying it right now, Huey. Trade here. And there were a whole bunch of trades, but I showed you the two trades that we took. We had the -8 and a +9 right here to get us at +1 on gold. Okay. Now, and this is just using these trade setups. Okay. On the euro, we had more trades on the euro than we had anywhere today. I don't know if I marked them all up though. First one was +4. The second one was +4. We missed that one. We missed that one. Then we had, so that had put us at +8. And this move right here put us at +23. And I have one trade that we did that I don't have marked. That put us at +39. It was a 16 tick trade. I'm thinking it was right in here. But things are moving around so fast. I mean, I'll have to go and check, but I think it was right here. Down to here. But things are moving around so fast that it was hard for me to talk about it, draw trend lines, mark the charts, and keep my log intact. But during the break, there were some really nice trades right there, right there. It flipped around. Beautiful trade right here. Now this is a textbook trade right here. You get your cross, you get your pull away, you get your pull back and bounce. Down here, the slingshot. Fully separated. Bang. Did it again right here. Bang. It's doing it again right now. That's it. It is. It's just crazy. But I'm going to go through this. Is Dr. Tom ready to go, Dwayne? I don't see him in that section. Okay. All right. So I will get this done by then. Okay. On crude oil today, I got to show you this on crude. We went through this in the morning session. We had an intraday gap up. Intraday gap up right here. And it wasn't, yeah, yeah. And, it was what? A full point, a full buck gap up. Yeah, I think it was closer to 6, but the gap was a buck, and that's $1,000 a contract gap right there. So if you were long down here, then you had, yeah, it did, yeah, it did. And what time is that exactly? 10:35. Now let's go see on a smaller time frame. Yeah. Oh, it did. Yeah. And so I'm clearly not going to go over all the trades here in Crude, but I'll go over the ones that we did do. And I want to look at 1030, 1035 with you. Okay. There's so much data. Okay. On Crude, our first trade was right here. We made 5 ticks. Our next trade was right here. We made 20. Now, this is where that move started, right here. It started down here. Now, we had a trade set up here, here, here where we actually got in. And there, I moved my stop up to plus 20 ticks because the green line got up into the cycle and it's time for it to pull back. So I'm just following the rules. If I let it play out, this right here is where we entered. And price never came back to that level during this huge move up. See, I could have been in that parabolic move right there. And craziness, I'm telling you. But we did have a trade setup in there. Now, I'm not going to go through all the trade setups here on Crude because it would take me probably 2 hours. But that was that. Now, on the ES, we were plus 25 on Crude, by the way. On the ES, we had 2 trades. We were plus 28. Now, Dr. Tom's due to come in 1 minute. So let me be quick about this. Come on. All right. I can only be as quick as my charts are. There we go. All right, on the ES, there were a ton of trades. I mean, you just got to look at this. Look at the slingshot. The slingshot is going to tell you the story. That green line's pulling away from a red cycle going down. You're going to have a short trade, like right there. Okay. Trading in the pre-market right now is a little easier than trading in the actual market. But like right here, you get that pull away from the cycle. The MA1 stayed blue. The cycle turned red, and the MA1 stayed blue. Yeah. They don't have any value. Yeah. I mean, you can change them. You can change them to whatever you want. Now I can make it black. You got to change both of these. Okay. And now it's just going to be a black line when it comes back. Wow. Yeah. We have another indicator. We have another indicator. Now this was my attempt to create an indicator that one of our clients, past client, because he just died last month, wanted me to create, and I created it, but I couldn't do it in real time. So I created another indicator that's a paint bar that is in real time. So, you know, if you want to learn about that, just send me a message and, you know, send me an email, call me, and I'd be happy to show you. Okay, if I haven't already. I mean, I actually use it myself. But this right here, the YBR, is becoming more and more popular. Fortunately, we did create it for NinjaTrader. But when you get the right color on the YBR, and you get, like if you have blue here and an up close here, and you have bullish separation down here, price is usually going to go up, and vice versa. If it's red, it's usually going to go down, and you have bearish separation. Okay, so our first trade here on the ES picked up 8, and And we had just 3 trades on the ES. The first one was for 8 ticks, the second was for 12, and the third one was for 8. I think that was the second one for 12. And I'm not going to go through all the trade setups because the markets are just crazy and it really would take me a long time. But, I mean, if you look at the slingshot, you can just see the slingshot is telling the story. And this happens, this green line pulling away happens right here in the pullback. That's when you say, okay, I got to get ready for a long trade. Bang. Okay, I got to get ready for a long trade. Bang. And remember, the goal is to get your goal. And on the ES, you can still trade multiple contracts. But, you know, I know it Daniels, the margins are high, but they're not high everywhere. And I'm not suggesting that you move away from Daniels. I'm suggesting yeah, it is crazy. I mean, it wears me out. And you know, today I have a whole bunch of other things going on today. Is the logic of indicators disclosed to members? You mean, is the source code disclosed? No. No, it's not. It's all proprietary. Yeah, and all right, Dr. Tom is in. Now, let me just go through this one thing, Dr. Tom, just a second. Okay. If you're going to read the spreadsheet, you can read all the CFTC risk disclosures down at the bottom. Today's the 2nd day of April, 2020. We made 39 ticks in the euro, 25 ticks in crude, 1 tick in gold, and 28 ticks on the ES. We're plus 853 per contract for 2 hours this morning. Today, I stopped out on my first trade, so it took me a little longer to get to the goal for the day. And I was above $100 a contract. I don't know exactly where it was because it was a mix of things. But it took 26 minutes and 4 trades. I think 26. It might have been 29, but I think it was 26. And 4 trades to get to the goal for the day. We took a total of 10 trades in there today. On the month now, we're at $1,293 per contract per 2-hour day. That's over 2 days, averaging $646 per day. On the year, we're at $23,267 per contract per day. That's over 60 days, averaging $387 per contract per day. Now, if you have not taken a free trial with us and you want to take a free trial with us, go to the homepage at CFRN.net. Over here in the right-hand column, it says 5-day free trial, apply.CFRN.net. You can click on that, or you can click on this right down here, free 5-day trial. Either one of those is going to bring you to this page. And that's tonight. All right. So all we ask for is your name, your email. Oops, your email, your phone number. Look, my emails. Your email, your phone number, and you can tell us the biggest trading challenge so we can tailor 101 training just for you. Hit the send button and you'll be sent a confirmation link. You have to click on that confirmation link. Okay. If you don't click on it, we don't know that you took the free trial. That's how we roll. Somebody's going to answer your question. It's, it may be me, maybe Valerie, maybe Dwayne. But ask the question, and if we don't have the answer, we'll find somebody who does. Google's our friend. Yep, and I'm going to open up Dr. Tom's mic. Okay, no problem. Hang on. There he goes. Okay, now your mic's open.
How you doing, boys and girls?
Good.
Well, today I'm saying I have different ones that I use. I love this one. If I was doing any better, I have to hire somebody to help me enjoy it. Ooh, that's a good one. You got any good ones, Michael?
No, I don't. I don't.
Well, let me. Platform shoes. Yeah, the word picture is kind of creeping me out, actually. I know. Yep. And you thought you were tall, too. Yeah. Well, let me start off with how people can. Right. Let me start off with saying how you can feel better. Everybody can feel better. They say an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Well, everybody. Okay, that doctor, I got you. I don't see apples being a big help with a flu or virus epidemic, but I've seen a scientific study that suggests that having some positive news every day will actually build up your immune system. We know that builds you up spiritually, right? We know that it builds you up emotionally, but it turns out it also builds you up physically and it strengthens your immune system. The problem is that all people are listening to is bad news. I know people sitting for the TV all day long.
I don't watch news because it's bad news. I watch things that make me laugh.
Yeah. And the Bible says that. It says that a merry heart does good like a medicine. So I made a commitment throughout the rest of this China virus thing. I refuse to call it COVID, and I'll tell you why. Because it is a China virus unleashed on us by China. But throughout the course of this thing, I made a commitment. I'm going to post something positive that will make people feel good about the virus, positive things that are happening, new cures they're finding, and so on. And that's at facebook.com/Dr. Tom TV, just DRTOM TV. Don't forget the TV. It's not just Dr. Tom. And check it out. I'll have something good for you every day. And at the end here, I will have I talked a little bit about the coronavirus vaccine last week, didn't I? Okay. I wanted to get it. No, not necessary today. Not necessary. Yeah. Okay. So sometimes you have to hear a little bad news before you can understand the good news. Because if somebody doesn't realize they're drowning, it's kind of hard to save them. If somebody doesn't realize that they're a sinner, They don't know they need a savior. So I want to talk about just the general picture of the economy and what's coming up. And feel free to chime in if you like, but here's the way I'm seeing it. Ronald Reagan, back in the 89, I think, he was elected on a platform of lowering the national debt. The national debt was at a horrible, unheard of, all-time high. Do you know what that was? $900 billion. Yeah, not even a trillion. You know, we used to freak out when somebody talked about $1 billion. Now they talk about spending $1 trillion. We just, no, I'll look. Good Lord. Okay, so with that in mind, all right, the debt was at 10 trillion when Obama took office, and he got a lot of heat for doubling the national debt in 8 years. So he spent over and above what we took in taxes. It's not just that he spent 10 trillion, he spent 10 trillion of borrowed money. Okay. Right. So every year, what's called the deficit, whatever's spent over the amount that comes in taxes and excise fees and so on, which currently is about 43% of every dollar the U.S. government spends. At the end of the year, that's the deficit, and that gets loaded onto national debt. So in 8 years, he did something no one has ever done. He doubled the national debt, went from 10 trillion to 20 trillion. And everybody was very upset about it, even Democrats. They realized that, you know, this is unsustainable. He actually fired his budget director for stating publicly that the national debt, the trend of the national debt was unsustainable. And so the next day he was, quote, allowed to retire, unquote. Well, when you're up at that high level and you work in the White House, you don't get fired. It looks bad for the president. So you decide to spend more time with your family or whatever, you know. So he was gone, but more and more Democrats are saying we can't just keep doing this. Well, a lot of people were in big hopes that President Trump would lower the national debt, but instead he's added about $1 trillion a year to the debt, just like Obama did. And I understand this. You know, he didn't campaign on lowering the debt. He never hardly mentioned it. He talked about getting us out of long, costly wars. He talked about lowering regulations. He talked about lowering taxes, and he's done all of that. And he saved a lot of money. But at the same time, he was spending money. You have to do both. You have to lower your outgo and increase your income. So, but we were doing okay. The economy was just rocking and rolling, even though he was not a fiscal conservative. I love the guy, you know, but he comes from the point of a businessman. I come from the point of a preacher. The Bible says that the debtor is slave to the lender. It says that we should owe no man anything but to love him. The Bible speaks very clearly about not being in debt. But a businessman, and particularly a real estate businessman, debt is a tool. Mm-hmm. So it's just in his nature, his DNA, you use debt as a tool. So unfortunately, the national debt has not gone down. It's gone up. It's now $23 trillion. So this $2.2 trillion stimulus package, the largest ever in the history of the world in any country, is actually over $6 trillion, because hidden in it is authority to spend another $4 trillion. And also, they're already working on the next package that could be, $7 to $10 trillion. We just don't know. These things get passed without the American people knowing about them, and half the time without the congressmen that vote for them knowing what's in them. The bill that Nancy Pelosi put up, 40 Republicans voted against it because she gave them 45 minutes to go over a 1,400-page bill. Okay, and they voted against it just because they didn't know what was in it, and they were excoriated by the press. In a time of crisis, how can you not vote for something that will save the country? Well, it wouldn't have saved the country. Nancy Pelosi had over half of the bill packed with pork stuff to help out the Democrat Party representatives in their districts. They had nothing to do with the coronavirus. The example everybody's using is the Kennedy, was it the Kennedy Center in New York?
Right, exactly. And they turned right around and made an announcement. They get the money, and then they say they're going to stop paying the musicians.
Yeah, they fired all of them. And in the stimulus package, it says specifically that if you get any government aid, loan guarantee, anything like that, if you lay off any of your employees, then you don't get the aid. That's the purpose of the aid.
Right.
But they wanted to get it as part of the stimulus package, so it didn't have to follow the rules of the stimulus package. That's one that did get through, okay? But the Republicans managed to take out probably $1 trillion worth of garbage and just goodies for the Democrats, and replaced it with things that would actually help people. But
how do legitimate small businesses get in line for some of this stimulus, some of this aid?
Okay, first thing is you go to your own local bank.
Okay.
What's best is if you go to a bank that is in a partnership with the Small Business Administration.
Okay.
Because that will go much faster. But I do business with 3 banks, and the bank that's most willing to talk to me is the one where we have our account for this particular business. I have different business accounts in different banks. Sure. So it's easier to accomplish. They're taking applications now, and then they'll notify you when the applications are going to actually go in. And basically, it started off being very complicated the way the Democrats had it. The Republicans in the Senate changed it to a very simple formula. Instead of having to add up all your business expenses, your rent and your utilities, your employee payments, your insurance, all of those things, and document all of that, which can take forever. You simply show them your payroll records, and they will loan you 2.5 times your monthly payroll. Very simple.
Okay.
But
is that a one-shot deal?
Well, right now it is. Okay. As this goes on, we're going to see these things continuing, being extended, and so on. The projections are that for at least the next 12 months, we're going to be spending $1 trillion each month on stimulus. We thought that $1 trillion a year was bad. How about a month? Okay.
Wow.
So in the next year, the national debt will increase by 50%. Remember, we were freaked out when Obama increased it 100% over 8 years. How about 50% over 1 year? I mean, that's
by the way,
just
folks, a trillion has 12 zeros in it. 1 trillion has 12 zeros. It is a million. $1 trillion is $1 million multiplied by a million. Or if you prefer, 1,000 billion.
1,000 billion.
1,000 billion.
It's just crazy money.
So they've broken it down in 2 areas. If you're a big business, which they define as 500 or more employees, then you get loans, low interest rates that supposedly you have to pay back. But you watch, in the next bill or the next bill, they'll say that those are going to be forgiven. But if you're under 500 employees, then you're a small business. So if you have 500, you lay somebody off real quick, and now you, you get the better deal, because they will lend you practically no questions asked, good credit or bad credit, whatever, 2.5 times your payroll. And it doesn't have to be spent just on payroll. It can be spent on rent, utilities, all the other things they wanted you to prove in the first place. They want to get the money out there. So all you have to do is just show your payroll. But then if you use it for payroll, mortgage, rent, interest on debt incurred before February 15th, I don't know why that was a magic number, that type of thing. Mortgage, only the interest can be used against this, not reducing your principal. And any employee that is paid less than $100,000 a year counts. So if you spend it all on those things, then that loan will be forgiven. So in essence, it's a grant. Now, if instead you do like the Kennedy Center did, and they laid off their employees and stuff, and you use the money to buy yourself a new car or a new truck or remodel your office building, it's not going to get forgiven, right? But they're making it as easy as possible. And by the way, the $1,200, as long as you've been paying income tax and filing every year, you're going to get $1,200 deposited directly in your account. And they're going to do it with all haste. This is government haste. It's going to take a minimum of 3 weeks. Okay. I understand writing checks and mailing them out might take 3 weeks, but I mean, this is all electronic deposits directly into your account. So it shouldn't take up 3 weeks, but that's what they say. For every adult in the family, $1,200. For every child, $500. So I don't think this is going to come close to making up for what people are going to lose, but it's certainly better than nothing. Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, said this is the first time, said this on TV, this is the first time that he knows that any government has deliberately shut down their economy. Now, he wasn't criticizing it. He's on the president's team, and he said, it's necessary. The health issues are the greater issue. But at some point, the economic issues are going to outweigh the health issues, because more people are going to die from economic starvation, not being able to buy food, not being able to get to medical care, not being able to work, and so on. Eventually, we'll see those deaths if we don't pay attention to the economy at the same time as we pay attention to the China virus. Then the cure could be worse than the disease. Please don't believe all these numbers they're putting out on MSNBC and all that kind of thing. They are greatly, greatly inflated. First of all, they're saying that the U.S. has more cases than China. Does anybody in the world believe that the country where it started and that has multiples of our population has actually stopped having new cases? China's reporting to the WHO, who is totally in their pocket, that they've only had 537 new cases, and they all came from visitors from other countries. What a load of garbage. Okay. What the Bible says about Satan, that he's a liar and he's the father of liars. Well, you could say the same thing about China. They don't even know how to tell the truth. They're telling the world that nobody's dying over there, no new cases, and yet people from within China are reporting on the fact that the incinerators are going 24 hours a day, burning the bodies of the people who've died. So I'm absolutely 100% sure that the death toll is continuing to rise in China because they don't care about their people. This is not a country that their philosophy is a communist, atheistic philosophy. That's why they didn't mind Tiananmen Square rolling tanks over crowds of thousands of people. They reported that 1,000 people died, and yet, what was it, like 40 or 50,000 people that families reported as missing? You know, where do they go? Probably in the incinerators also. So anybody who tells the truth over there, the doctor that first blew the whistle on it, he's dead. The reporter that tried to get the word out, they disappeared him. He's gone.
You know, I had to step away for just a second, but shades of Hillary, or shades of the Clintons, I should say. People disappear real quick.
Yeah, there's a doctor, a lady doctor, who's heading up a task force, and she was telling the truth about the deaths and so on. They disappeared her. You know, she was arrested. We know that, but nobody's been able to talk to her, so she's probably dead by now. They probably made her drink a cup full of coronavirus. But
did you hear what President Duarte? Well, I know this is off. I'm switching gears. Let you go ahead and finish with what you're saying, but I want to talk about the Philippines for a second.
Okay, the death rate is the important thing. There's been like 5,000 deaths in the United States. To put that in perspective, okay, during the pandemic of 1918, just exactly 102 years ago, in the Spanish flu, 100 million people died worldwide. Okay, every year here in the United States, an average of 35,000 people die of the flu. That puts it in perspective. Okay, every year it's anywhere from like 25 to 69,000 people die of the flu, and they're putting out these scary figures that 100 million to 200 million people, not 100 million, 100,000 to 200,000 people may die of the coronavirus. I don't believe that. There have been stories coming out.
We're not making light of the problem, folks. What we're talking about is how the media has chosen to handle this, and their motivation for handling it in such a way.
And why?
And why? Yeah.
And why? Because it's to the benefit of the media, and frankly, I don't want to make this political, but it's to the benefit of the Democrat Party that people be scared to death by November. So we're getting reports from doctors who are telling us that in morgues, people who have died, not of the virus, people who have died of a heart attack or a stroke or cancer even, they're testing them post-mortem. What in the world good does that do? I mean, it doesn't give you any
it's a waste of a test, which
data.
I heard we're kind of running short on.
Exactly. And it doesn't provide any useful statistical data. But what they're doing is that they find any trace amount of the coronavirus in their blood. They're reporting it as a virus death, even though the cause of death was a heart attack. The other thing is the tests are going to become more and more useless unless they make some major changes to them, because they're very, very sensitive. Okay.
Right.
So eventually there are projections that every American and probably everybody in the world will have some trace of the coronavirus in their blood.
Yeah,
just
like every dollar bill has cocaine on it, kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I got you.
And just like you have cancer cells in your body right now, Dwayne.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you
have influenza virus in your bloodstream, but it's the fact that your
immune system
is strong that keeps that from taking over. So the tests are so sensitive that it will say someone's got the coronavirus when they just have a trace amount that couldn't possibly make them sick. And so they're going to bump up the numbers and say this huge number of people has the virus. And they're also now falsifying death certificates. I mean, how low can you go? That's what I'm saying. If the person died of a heart attack, And they give them this test after they're dead, which is totally invalid. Okay, you don't test people for a virus.
I wonder if you
after
can
they're dead.
contract it post-mortem. Let's say you're stacked up in a morgue with people who did actually have the virus. If you're given a test post-mortem, could it be that you actually were infected in the morgue?
I doubt that, because what they do is they swab the nostrils and the throat.
Okay. All right.
So,
Fair
you know, they could get it on their skin, but it's doubtful it could get into their bloodstream or inside. But it's just the whole idea. There's no reason to do a post-mortem test for the virus other than building up the numbers. So if the coronavirus is even mentioned at all on the death certificate, even if it's declared a death from cancer, someone that was expected to die, they're putting it into the numbers. So
anyway. The question becomes, who benefits from artificially inflating these numbers?
Well, first of all, the people who are inflating them, the media.
Oh yeah, the bigger the circus, the more tickets you can sell.
Yeah, and then also the Democrats, because I mean, it's more and more obvious. I see it on TV every day. Joe Biden is suffering from senility.
I feel so sorry for him. It really angers me that his wife, his entourage, the Democratic Party, that they're subjecting him to this public humiliation. It's just tragic.
He just sits there and rambles on, makes no sense. It's almost like somebody's on drugs. But I saw one exchange. He was up there talking, and he was just making a fool of himself. So you hear his wife off the side saying, Joe.
Coaching him. Yeah.
And so what she was telling him in this case, to get off the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And
I saw
so
that
then
one.
she goes up and takes his arm and leads him off the stage.
Off. Oh my goodness. That's, you know, shame
So
on them. Shame on them.
The only way he gets elected is if people feel like Trump is not doing his job with this virus. That's the only way that the Democrats win. Whoever they put, I doubt they're eventually going to put up Biden. They're going to figure out some kind of shenanigans at the convention.
I'm still waiting for Hillary to come in at the last moment, like the cavalry. Is it based upon our Constitution at this, or however that works at this point? Is it possible for her to still be the candidate?
Well, based on the Constitution, it doesn't really have anything to do with it.
Okay,
frankly,
fair enough.
The Democrat Party makes the rules, and they change them for every convention. Okay. But in general, delegates are pledged and are required to vote for the person that they got elected to vote for.
Right.
You know, the American people think that we nominate our president. We don't. Our parties do. Mm-hmm. And many times, like in the case of Hillary, it was decided a couple of years before the election that she was going to be the nominee. And so the Democrat Party they wouldn't let Bernie use the mailing list. She did. They wouldn't give him any airtime. They pushed her forward. So they nominated Hillary.
Right.
What they could do at this convention is this. If on the first ballot, he's not nominated, then they may do one or two more ballots, and then they go into the back room. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is how Jimmy Carter became the nominee. He was not anywhere near the leader of the pack.
Who was?
But
Who was? Do you remember?
I don't remember back that far.
Okay.
All I remember, he was the king of peanuts.
Yep.
But in a backroom deal, the leading candidate said, well, I'm not going to agree to have so-and-so because he said bad things about me during the debate, and vice versa. And so they decided on what's called a dark horse candidate. Now,
I've heard George Harrison, if I'm not mistaken, George Harrison, and guys, if you don't know this, the Beatles' music was very political, but I believe George Harrison came out with a solo album called Dark Horse. But anyway.
Really?
Yeah, I'll Google it while you're talking. Go ahead.
Well, I have a feeling that one or two things is going to happen with one of two people. Andrew Cuomo of New York, there's no reason for him to be on an hour to 2 hours a day doing press conferences. And yet people are just eating those up like crazy.
Yeah.
And he's doing something very unusual for a Democrat. He's making sense. He's being bipartisan. He's praising the president. He said, we're working together. The things that people really want in their presidential candidate. So he's running for president via these press conferences, and they're very impressive. I mean, he's got good data. Most of what he says makes sense. So he's a possible dark horse candidate. Hillary has always been. There's still people that just feel cheated because Hillary didn't get elected. So one or two things I think would happen. If they allow Biden to be the nominee, he would definitely be a puppet. Okay. And the party, big time, the big bosses would decide who his vice president would be. So the vice president would actually be the president, and he'll sit there and smile, and he'll make little speeches and whatever, but they'll tell him what to do, and they won't allow him to run for a second term. If you go to conservativetruth.com or .org, Conservative Truth, read my article called "Does Age Matter?" Okay, if he ran for a second term, he'd be in his 80s, and there's no way he would live through that. The most he could get is one term. So what they need to do, it's just foolish, and parties hardly ever do this, elect someone who could not run a second time, because the incumbency is such a strong advantage in an election. But it's almost as
about 70%,
strong.
right?
Yeah.
About 70%.
But it's almost as strong for a vice president if they've been allowed to be out there in the public. Okay.
Well, Mike Pence has had more center stage time, I think, than any other vice president in my recent recollection.
Yeah. So after Trump gets a second term, Trump or Pence will have a very, very good chance of acting like an incumbent and getting elected. Well, to the reverse, both Bernie Sanders and Biden, Sanders is a year older, would be in the mid-80s. And if you look at it in president years, as I discussed in the article, I believe that, just like dogs, 7 dog years for every 1 human year. Year. Well, a dog that's 10 years old would qualify for senior citizen breaks at Denny's, right?
Right.
Well, if you watch how presidents have aged, how it's affected their health and so on, even though they get the best medical care of anybody in the entire world, look at how George Bush and Obama, each of them, how they came into office and how they left. They had aged 20 years.
Oh man, yeah, it really takes a toll on you.
So there's no way that Biden could live through 2 years, much less be elected a second term. So what they're going to do is take someone, and I think the most likely ones are Cuomo and Hillary, and one of those two will be made vice president. They'll really run things. Mm-hmm. They'll be the ones that's speaking all the time, and then Biden would not run for a second term. That's just my opinion.
And gosh forbid something should happen to Biden once he's inaugurated, and the vice president, of course, is next in the line of succession.
And even worse,
followed by, go ahead.
Horror of all horrors.
She could be the president. She could be the president.
Yeah, Nancy Pelosi, unbelievable. So anyway, let me just tell you real quickly what's happening with gold. I am one of the few dealers left in the United States that actually has gold.
Okay.
It's just, I'm talking to dealers all over the country, and nobody has any gold. When I saw the whole China virus thing starting to come down, I don't know whether it was the Lord telling me or whether it was me just making an assumption, a gut feeling. I can't really tell you what caused me to do it, but I went very strong in buying gold. I've already got 70% of my net worth in gold. I took all the money in my company, all the money I had personally, and I bought any kind of gold I could get. And I got it at lower prices than today's. Gold's up like, what, 37 points today?
We're trading 1635.20 right now.
Okay, so either go to CFRNgold.com, CFRNgold.com, and
Watch
ask
the
for the
screen,
gold
guys. I'm
education
going to show you
starter pack.
CFRN GOLD. CFRNgold, one word.com. And that'll bring you here.
Okay.
Got it?
And we'll send you the gold education starter package. But also, if you have an urgent situation, you need to talk to me, give me a call at 561-753-5998, 561-753-5998, and we will ask you where you heard from us, so make sure you tell us that it was on the CFRN. And it's not too late, even though gold is up quite a bit. It's not too late. The most conservative analysts are saying that because of all the stimulus, gold is going to 2,500. The majority of analysts are saying 3,000, and a very strong minority are saying 5,000.
Right.
But the ones who are saying 5,000 are the people like Jim Sinclair that have been right time and time again for decades.
Yeah.
So
I think we could see
one way or
2,000 by the end of the month. I mean, we just started a new month, but possibly even, yeah. Well, let's just say it can happen quicker than you might think.
well, this will be the worst quarter. March. The quarter just in March. Worst quarter the Dow has ever had,
Right.
ever.
Right.
Not even counting the panic of 1929. And gold was up, I don't know what percentage, but gold was up strong. So protect your family and get at least some gold, because the poorest man in your block who has gold will be the richest man in a crash.
Can you see this chart? I don't know if you're at your computer. Can you see this chart?
Let me look. I can see it.
Yeah, these are current weekly trading zones for gold. Going back to the 31st, we consolidated up here at 1634. Now this is for the June contract. And then we dropped to the zone below all the way down to 1594. And now today, this is a 30-minute chart we're looking at. We're right back up at that area where we spent all that time consolidating. Let me make this a daily real quick. A lot of stuff. Let me get rid of all the stuff. Look at that. That's a daily chart.
Pretty impressive.
Now you heard about what happened
That
with
one little drop.
ahead.
That one little drop there where you see around the March 19th and so on. That's when I bought most of my gold.
Okay.
So that's why I'm not worried about the little pullback. So
No,
what?
no. This is good. This is what keeps the market healthy. We ran into, on the daily chart, we got a little triple top going on here. So we got a leg, we got a retracement. Now, guys, this market is, the highest probability is we're going to continue higher. We're going to hit this area where we've been rejected 3 times. And I'm not going to forecast whether we get rejected again or not. But what I will say is if we can trade above this area and then hold it on a pullback, that's a party I think you want to attend.
Amen.
And I know
Listen, I
you
have to
got
say
to run.
something. Yes, I do.
Let me show you, just so you'll know, I was telling you. Dark Horse, George Harrison. You thought that you knew where I was, and when it looks like they've been fooling you, and it looks like they've been fooling you again, you thought that you'd get me all staked out, but baby, looks like I've been breaking out. So I don't know what all that means, but he's
I'm
right.
a dark horse.
Yeah, but guys,
Yeah.
if you didn't know that the Beatles' music was very political, I'm sure most of you did, do some Googling. A lot of interesting stuff there. They were more than just hippies on drugs. They were deep thinkers, to a degree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually great musicians.
Absolutely.
These guys went to some excellent musical schools, and some of their music is just their harmonies was great. I mentioned I wanted to talk just briefly about the coronavirus vaccine. It's called Psalm 91. Go in your Bible, Psalms 91. And if you want to keep your family safe from the virus, what you want to do is you want to get up every morning and before your family leaves, read this entire psalm. It's only 16 verses. Take 5 minutes out loud to your family. And then pray and just ask the Lord to put it to work for your family, because just the fact that it's in the Bible doesn't protect you. You appropriating it is what does. It's like having money in the bank and saying, "Oh, I'm broke. I don't have any money. I don't have any cash." Well, go to the cotton picket bank and withdraw it.
Yeah, the doctor gives you medicine. As long as it's sitting on the shelf in the container, it's not going to do any good. You got to get it in your body. You got to get it. Got to get it down inside of you. Yeah.
That's a good analogy, because this is great medicine. Okay. So Psalm 91, God's word is true. It's been true for thousands of years, and it's the best way to keep your family safe. If you want to keep them safe economically, you get gold, but much more important is keeping them safe from catching this virus. Okay?
Amen.
Thanks a lot for me. Come on, brother. God bless you.
John's here. I just opened his mic, so if you want to say hi as you say bye, go right ahead. John,
hi, bye, John.
Yeah, just I totally concur with you on the gold score. As a matter of fact, I think 5,000 is kind of the low end of where it's going. I've upgraded my expectations to 12 to 20,000, and so I've just written the definitive analysis of gold like it's never been written before, and I think that's going to go down in history as maybe the best piece of analysis I ever did. So,
give me a call after the show, John, because I would love to talk to you about that. Okay, you have my number, right?
I'll get it off Dwayne later. Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Dr. Tom, question from the audience, just real quick before you go. You talked about how you've put everything you've got, you've put it behind gold. When do you take profit? When do you plan to take profit?
Good question. If you have a stock,
I'll give you a hint. I think we're going to have an inflationary storm going into the end of the year. So I think probably in 2021, if things start getting back to normal, then that might be a time to take profit. So.
Okay.
Well, I'll answer that question with a question.
Okay.
If you have a stock and it goes up to $50, do you sell it because it's doubled?
You sell half of it.
Or
so you have a free ride on the rest.
It's not showing you. That's one philosophy, and I've done that before. But if it's still going up and up and up and showing no signs of weakness, there's really no reason to sell it. Maybe you put a stop on it, but you know what I'm saying?
This audience has heard me say that again and again. Just because you have a target on a trade, okay, you enter, price goes up or down, whatever direction the trade is in, you get to the target. If the chart's not telling you the move's over, why get out? Adjust your stop, of course, protect the profits that you've earned. But man, you spend a lot of time looking, waiting, being patient for the right opportunity to arise. And now that you're in it, stay in it until the chart gives you a reason to get out.
Amen.
Amen.
That'll preach.
All right, brother.
And I totally agree with you, John. I do want to talk to you today, okay? Because I'd love to discuss your analysis with you, okay?
He had to pick up that phone, I think. All right, but I'll let him know. I'll pass the message along. I'll make sure he has your number.
Okay, thanks, Dwayne. God bless everybody. Keep safe.
Take care.
Okay, I'm back on.
Okie doke.
Thanks.
Dr. Tom said he really did want to talk to you today, so I'll email you his phone number.
Sure. Listen, I don't want to go sort of brag about it or whatever, but I just want to point out, as you know, Dwayne, you and I, both of us, we've made some unbelievable calls, and for as long as we've been together, and long before I ran into you, I told you about my 1994 call. I mean, that was published in a magazine, in a finance magazine. And I went out on I called for 2018, and I think 2,000 point of move from 12th of December 1994 for the next 18 months, and go and look at what happened. we went up 2,000 points. And then after that, I was one of the first people to call for 10,000. We eventually called the highs at 11,300. As you know, we made our famous alert on March the 24th, 2000 at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And, you know, there was a who's who of people following me then, many of them who called, some of the smartest guys in the world, and some of the most successful traders in history got that alert from me. So it was quite an event. You know, later on, you know, I mean, we called the bottom on this show, called the top on July the 19th, kind of around about, you know, right at the close that day. That was the day the Dow closed at 14,000.41, read the same backwards and forwards.
Right.
And we went down about 14% off that and that was July the 19th. And I think I said I'm going like more short than I've ever been in my life that day after that. And then it was about August the 16th, and it was usual time, you know, 1:30, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We got the S&P 2 points off the low, and it went all the way up to, you know, the Dow went back up to 14,150 or so by October the 10th. Then we repeated our same, you know, as we said in July, going maximum short again. And who'd have thought? I mean, listen, we didn't know there was going to be relentless selling for 2 years straight. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, kind of like what we've just had for 6 weeks or longer, you know, going into the bottom. And as you know, my 2009 call is, you know, has to be described as legendary, I think. And as you know, in about 2000, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, I forget which year it was, but I was watching Fast Money. I think it was a Friday, and that was the day. I mean, look, a lot of this happens all the time right now, but back then, for a company to increase in value by $4 billion in one day, going from $80 to 100 plus in one day, was a very big deal. Okay, it almost never happened before. And the fellas on Fast Money, and look, you know, back then they were pretty, you know, they were not as experienced and as good as they are today, because they are pretty good. Some very smart people on that show. And but they every one of them, they all said, oh, you know, this was BlackBerry, by the way. It was whatever it was called before BlackBerry. And if you remember, it had been in the 60s, and they had problems, you know, they had blackouts, and they had, you know, so it kind of was spacing out in the 60s, and then it kind of went up to 80, and all of a sudden it jumped to like $100. So we wrote the definitive analysis on BlackBerry that very evening, and I put a $450 target on it. And I explained how I thought it was going to go up. I said it's probably going to go up to $130 rather, and maybe come back to 100, which it did, and then go up to 130 again, maybe pull back, and then it's going to go to 150, 170, to 200, 250. I was joined by Citigroup at 250 when they initiated coverage on the stock. How about that? And I think and you know, went all the way to 440, 450 or 457, something like that, right about the 2007 high. And if you remember, and I think I aired it on the show at the time, you know, around that time, I think it was, I can't remember whether it was, I can't remember the exact date this happened, but if you remember, you know, this was pretty early on. This might have been in July, right before that sell-off. So Prince Al Walid, you know, from Saudi Arabia, who's very successful investor, made $20 billion. He and I actually had a few similar trades on in the early 90s. I was long GM, Ford, back in the good old days, Chrysler, Citigroup, and I forget the others. Oh, General Electric, I think, back then. So I was long those 5 stocks for most of the 90s. And so we're in 2007, and there was a fella came on right before Prince Al-Walid from Merrill Lynch, right? And he was like, we're not worthy. Merrill Lynch is going higher. It was about $96, and you couldn't have been more bullish on it. And he said, "Oh, look, it's going to a new high." So I sort of checked it, and it wasn't going to a new high. As it turns out, it had already made the high, and it was on a kind of a retest. It looked like it was just about to fail. And did it ever fail, by the way? And then Prince Al-Walid came on, and Citigroup had just hit $55, and it was about 54. And he said to the whole world, "I will never sell my Citigroup stock." And that was the day.
I remember that. Yeah.
Okay, and that was the day I said it's time to go short. Get out of banks for sure. And listen, I'm not kidding you. I bought Citigroup.
Did that thing go to a buck?
I bought it on around March 6th, 7th, 8th. I bought GE, $6. No, 580. We bought GE at 580 before it went back up. And that day, I bought Citigroup at about 64, maybe 70 cents, something like that. Can you believe it? It was under $1 after being at 54. That analysis on the BlackBerry was obviously one of the better calls of my life. In terms of one that I really went into and explained why I thought it was going to go up. And today it's like tiddlywinks compared to what's going on with Apple. And
Yeah.
I mean, because back then 1 million subscribers was a huge deal. For the smartphones, for the forerunner of smartphones, right? And what I was saying was, this can only get bigger because more and more people are going to buy smartphones like BlackBerries, and that was the reason why I did the definitive analysis on that company. And so today, most people are not even cognizant of what's going on in the financial world in terms of the stimulus. Look, there's 12 trillion worldwide already being pushed into the markets. 12 trillion. These good 6 trillion in the US already, maybe 6, 7, 8 trillion. There's more on the way. Before it's all over, it's going to be at least 10 trillion, maybe 12 in the US, and it might be even 20. So this is, this is going to go, it's going to have incredible implications for the future. And it is a little bit like the Weimar Republic. I mean, you can't, look, we've had a great economy. I wouldn't say we've been living on borrowed time, but we might be starting an era where we are living on borrowed time if we don't get out of this hole that we're in, or right now. This is a very, very bad deal. I mean, it's the fastest decline in history. It's certainly been pretty dramatic, for anybody. And I'm happy to say, I think things are getting better today. We hit our we're 203,007 recoveries right now. That's fantastic. Obviously,
Yeah.
We're closing on a million. What I hope we'll see in the next few weeks is, 300,000, 400,000, 500,000. Trump obviously took a lot of heat for the, championing the hydroxychloroquine.
Yeah, but you know what? He'll always be a criminal for that.
Yeah. But the governor, have you heard about the governor of Michigan? She banned it like a week ago. Now she's begging for it. So
No, I haven't heard that.
Ironica. And then so this,
Well,
I just heard the
at
governor.
least she's got, enough courage to recognize her mistake and now do the right thing for the people of her
good,
state.
Yeah. And look, I
She
mean,
had to swallow a lot of pride
there
to
was
do
what's his name?
Who?
Tapper.
John Tapper? Is that it? Jake Tapper?
No, Jake Tapper was on with this Governor Gavin Newsom this morning, and was trying to bait him into criticizing Trump. And Newsom said, "Look, he said every time I call Trump, he answers the phone right away. You know, I mean,
I heard Trump say positive things about Newsom, I think yesterday, and I'd not heard that
and
before.
Cuomo too. You know, and I think that's terrific.
It is.
Now, the other thing is, Cuomo actually said this morning. You ready for this? He said the rate of discharges from the hospitals are actually increasing. How about that? That's a really, really big deal. And I personally tweeted this morning from something that was on Zero Hedge about the coronavirus. You know, basically saying that Trump had championed this miracle cure. And he also said it could be a game changer. And I think by definition, it is a game changer because, to be perfectly honest with you, if you happen to be on that gurney and you were about to expire and you got this just in time, he would have saved your life and maybe many, many other lives as well, unknowingly. But thanks to his, pushing an idea that might have worked, and by the grace of God, here's the deal: it's stopping the deaths. It's preventing the deaths. And there's one doctor who's done 600 patients, not one hospitalization, and not one death. So I mean, this is a really, really big deal now, because if they can slow the death rate down or eliminate it, I mean, that is a gigantic, stride in terms of getting back to normal sooner rather than later. So
have you heard what the president of the Philippines, Duarte, I think is his name? Did you hear what the order he's put out?
No.
If you're caught breaking curfew, shoot him.
Yeah, he's kind of a little bit like that.
It sounds like he's a little bit like Marcos. I lived in the Philippines for a period of time when Ferdinand Marcos was president.
Yeah, you and I were there together, but we just hadn't met each other.
We hadn't bumped into each other, yeah. Boy, I'll tell you, the people of the Philippines did not like that guy.
Yeah. I was there when you were there, for sure.
I was there in like 77, 78, 79, in that area.
Right. I was there. I was definitely there with you. So it's and look, the market was going up a while ago, taking a bit of a turn down, and unfortunately probably hasn't rallied enough to get any traction here. The gold, I have to say, the gold is forming the head and shoulders that we previewed here a few days ago.
Here's gold on a daily.
It's looking super dynamic right now. And I actually have a feeling, Dwayne, that it's not going to pull back. It's kind of off and running. And this is a little bit like what happened in 2016. Whereas once this thing took off, if you didn't get long, you kind of missed it. You just ran away from you. So, and there's been no pullbacks this morning. We did a test a couple of times, 1600. We're at 1637 right now, and it's looking very, very strong. And it really looks. I actually totally agree with you. I think this thing's going up to 1800, 1900 pretty quick, and good chance of getting up to 2100 by the summer, at the rate we're going. So we'll just have to see how things play out, but it certainly looks like it's I'd be pretty surprised if gold were to go down from here with everything going on. So listen, a couple of good things today. Gilead actually I actually recommended Gilead and Abbott to a few people, and I was very impressed to see Gilead go up this morning the way it did. It's still not, by no means a kind of a sure thing. You kind of got to buy this thing when it's down and sell it when it's up. This Zoom, I mean, sometimes you think a stock, a lot of people were probably thinking Zoom was going to go to 200 with 200 million users. And for some reason, they knocked the heck out of it today, and it's taken a huge hit in the last few days. So that's probably going to create another very good buying opportunity on this stock at some point in the near future. But I don't know, something happened. One stock that's doing very, very well is mRNA, and they're in vaccine trials right now. So, judging by the way the stock's going, if they're getting any feedback from it, it would appear that the stock could go a lot higher still. It's kind of right up there. It's actually one of the strongest of all the medical stocks so
Do you know
far.
anything about this Chesapeake Energy before I go to the M?
Yeah, what's the deal?
Well, it's trading at 16 cents. It caught my
Oh,
attention
boy.
the other day because it was one of the biggest movers. I was using the little screening app that TradingView has.
Yeah.
I'd never looked at it before, and it just caught my attention because
Well, that was McAlendon. Remember, he got killed in the car crash. That was
Michael
That was
Landon,
his-
Little
no.
Joe.
McAlendon, I think his name
Oh,
was
okay.
McAlendon.
Thinking of a different guy.
He
it
was
I guess it was this run up here.
yeah, he was, he was, no, this is ages ago. This is when
okay.
it was,
Okay, gotcha.
when it was a big, a big performer. This was like a huge, huge deal back in the last decade or so. It was one of the biggest oil companies in the world.
Wow.
In the shale. It just shows you what can happen.
Look at that
And,
decline there. So do you know enough about this?
It was
company?
kind of, actually that guy on the Shark Tank was on this morning, Robert Hutchevit.
Robert, yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, if you don't think Trump was shook up by this, I mean, first of all, they didn't even give him any part of the bailout. They kind of excluded him from that, which is a bit mean. When he's made this country tens of trillions of dollars.
What do you mean, his companies?
Yeah, and look, what Herjavec is saying, anybody who's built up their own company is threatened, no matter how smart you are. This is a thing that could take anybody down. So I think that Trump acted pretty quick, and unfortunately, he had to fire a lot of people just to survive, I guess. But because you can go, you can burn through cash flow real quick in a situation like this, and that's what's happening. I mean, it's really, really diabolical. So
I realize this is a speculative situation here, but you think there's upside potential for this?
I wouldn't touch it. I wouldn't touch that thing.
Yeah.
Honest to God.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's building a
Dwayne-
base. I
Dwayne
would wait for it, of course, to do something. There needs to be some
Yeah,
kind of an
you
event.
look, it's like Tilray. You might as well put up Tilray, because I was telling people on this show at $30, $40, don't go near it. Remember that?
Mhm.
I said and look at what happened to it. So, when it rallies, it just gets sold because people are, just the way these things work. Once the thing breaks the parabola, it never recovers, almost never recovers. And we're looking at the opposite of a parabola right now. We're looking at the gold-silver ratio, which has gone to an extreme and potentially has inverted, which means that the silver could start, outperforming gold. I mean, listen, you don't have
Here's
to hear
the
it from me.
gold-silver ratio, John, on a daily.
Right. So see what I mean? It looks like we've broken the parabola. See that?
Uh-huh.
And that's a very, very big deal, because more than likely it's going to continue lower. If it starts going down to 95, 90, where it was before, it's going to break down below. So just remember this. Remember, look, I've already done, this is in my definitive analysis. It's all laid out for you. The 100-year history, et cetera, et cetera. So
you're going to send that over? I'll make it
I already
available
sent it- I already
for
sent it
folks.
to you. I already sent it
I'll
to
make it
you. Yeah.
available for folks if you want me to.
Yeah, I want them to. Well, they have to call in and register and that
Okay.
sort of thing to get
All right.
it. But so the thing is this. Look, palladium led the way up in late 90s. It tripled, right? It tripled, and it only the palladium only topped out in like 2003 or 4. Okay, but it certainly got a lot of attention because it was making new all-time highs and everything, and it was very dramatic, right?
Right.
And then the platinum went up about fivefold in the early 2000s, and it topped out in 2008, right? Then the gold went up sevenfold from 2001 over 10 years, and it topped out in 2011. But the silver went up 11.5-fold. Okay, 11.5-fold versus sevenfold, and it topped out on May the 1st, 2011. And that's another definitive analysis I made in the middle of September, 15th September of 2010. You know, I wrote a long piece about the metals, and I said I think silver is going to hit $50 by the second quarter of 2011. I mean, so to all of our utter amazement, it happened, right? And ever since then, silver has really been in the doghouse. So, and the crazy thing is, the last time we were at $1,635, silver was about $35, right? So it's extremely undervalued right now at 14. But I believe that the bottom is, I wouldn't put 100% certainly that it's in, but I'd say it's 97% likely that it's in. And if it goes up in the next few days and gets back to 16, 17, 18, I actually think you're going to see silver go through 20 very, very fast and very dramatically, and it probably go into the 20s and 30s very, very quickly. So, and that will crater that gold silver ratio. I mean, it's actually for the why don't you put up the TVIX, because the TVIX is the same kind of story.
TVIX. There it is on a daily.
I mean, you know, this thing can't rally anymore, no matter how much the market tanks. You know, it's just got no. It's just lost.
No, this looks like we're heading lower. It sure does.
Yeah, it's got, well, you know, we're not necessarily today. We're coming up a little bit. It might listen. This thing could go back up to 420, and the Dow could go down 2,000 points. You know. But the worst of it, the fear factor is looks like it's over, you know. But so it's, I mean, a very, very good lesson of to be very, very careful of these parabolas, because if you get caught in one, you can be you know, taken apart. It also has served as an incredible leading indicator. I mean, as I said yesterday, that break, you know, from 1,000 down to 300, you had 4 record up days in that break, 4 all-time record up days in the Dow on that break.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, if it ever happens again, you know, that's very valuable information to know about, you know.
I agree.
So, you know, I would be. There's a rumor that there's going to be some sort of a bailout for the airline industry, so I'd be watching the airline stocks for a possible retest of the lows, double bottom, something like that. FedEx.
Is there what's an airline ETF? Do you know the symbol of one?
Well, I have to look into that. I have to look into that. But
okay.
The Boeing is getting beat up, but you know, I'm kind of feeling. Look, I'm feeling better today. That's the one thing.
Yeah, that's good.
Pulled an all-nighter last night, and haven't done that in a while. So I'm feeling kind of optimistic today, to tell you the truth. I really am. While this is a horrendous experience, I actually think it you know, I know Trump says it's going to be a terrible 2 weeks, and he's probably dead right, but it might not be as bad as everybody thinks. You know, if people are quick, you know, to get medical attention and are really, you know, focused on trying to beat this thing, I think hopefully the death rate will go down rapidly, or, you know, not necessarily right away, but within a few weeks. So that would be a huge thing.
That would be absolutely huge. But
Yeah.
hey, you know what? We're God's people. We're resilient people, and this too shall pass.
Yeah. I had a very nice call from Rich yesterday. I want to thank him for that. And I think it was a fantastic interview you did with him a couple of days ago. A little bit like Diamond and Silk. That was another great event.
I need to invite them back with all that's going on. They said they would be happy to come back anytime, so
Right.
I'll extend an invitation.
Yeah. So it's really an honor to be on with you, and thanks very much for the time.
Thank you, John. Thank you very
Thanks.
much. I really
All the
appreciate
best.
you, and I hope you continue to feel better, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay, much obliged. Thanks.
All right, bye-bye. Okay, guys, I've got the chart of the Dow up right now, so let's talk about that for just a second. 20890. Now, if you're on the trial, we're doing a special 1 week trial. If you're on the trial, you have access to the alerts via our respective Telegram channels. There are two types of alerts. One is called the Concierge Trade Alerts. That's the original. We've been running that about 7 years now. Okay, that's a static report. It looks like this, because this is it. If you want to grab a screenshot, feel free to do so. Okay, now this is how the concierge comes every night to the members and those on the trial in the Telegram channel. The idea is that you're going to do this. If you trade the S&P or the Dow, the Russell, whatever markets you trade that we cover, the idea is that you go to that respective chart and you draw a line at 24.93 and you draw a line at 24.67. Let me show you. Well, I'll use this chart. Okay, I'll make everything go away like that. We get an ES 30-minute. My default time frame is the 30-minute chart. Anytime I post something in the Telegram channel or show you a chart here, if it's anything other than a 30-minute, I'll always try to make that as clear as possible. So you come to the chart. Now, I typically get the alerts out shortly after the Globex Open. Series of events last night prevented me from being able to do that. So they actually came out at 1:15 a.m. Eastern. Okay. The Globex Open is 3 a.m. Eastern. I'm sorry, not the Globex. Globex opens at 6 p.m. Eastern. London opens for their normal trading day at 3 a.m. Eastern. Okay. And there's some really good opportunities around the London Open, but we'll talk about that another time. So you want to go to your chart and you simply draw a line. I'm going to get rid of these for right now so it's easier to see. So 24.93 is right there. So that's your first line in the sand, but these candles had not printed at that point because the alerts came out back here at 1:15 a.m. Eastern. So the alerts came out on that candle right there. So that's the oh, I'm sorry, they came out here. I need to extend the line. There we go. So we get everything in there that belongs in there. Okay. So see if we can manage this. Okay, so when the alert came out, all that stuff to the right, you couldn't see it yet. So the idea is that you come and you put a line, as I just did at 24.93, and then you put another line at 24.67. I haven't put that line on the chart yet, so I'll do it over here. 24.67. And then as time advances, so the alerts came out on the candle the arrow is pointing at. Okay. So everything between the lines, I call that the market making up its mind. Should really be over here, like that. Okay. So the market makes up its mind and triggers long, and we go from 24.93 up to 25.02. So that would be a 9-point move. The ES pays $50 a point. So the market made $450 per contract available. Now, we're very aggressive in regards to risk management. You need to, if you're going to follow our 24/20 blueprint, if you're going to get with the program, so to speak, we want you to spend 10 days, well, no, we want you to trade in SIM until you learn, oops, somebody's got an open mic, let me fix that. There we go, fixed. We want you to stay in SIM until you can put together 10 consecutive days in a row where you reach your goal in 10 trades or less. Once you accomplish that, the blueprint will give you the green light to go live with one contract. And you might say, well, I got more money than that. I can afford to trade more than one. Okay, that's good, but let's keep it that way. All right? No reason to rush out and throw money at the market. First, you become consistently profitable in SIM, and everybody goes, well, yeah, but that's just SIM. That's not the real thing. No, it isn't. You're absolutely right. When you go live with real money, you're going to have to deal with another whole host of issues that exist only between your ears. That doesn't mean they're not real. They're very real to you, to whatever degree you allow them to be real to you. Paul wrote about this several thousand years ago. Take every thought captive. Okay? You have to learn to control what you're thinking about and how you think about it. And that's important. Some people, laugh because I'm such a stickler with, just little things about, how many trades I won or how much did I win today. And I know it's silly of me and it's petty, but you know what? I don't see this as the carnival, right? I didn't, if I have profits today, I didn't win anything. I mean, and again, I know it's just semantics and everybody understands it. I'm just, I guess, letting you know I'm human. So I have quirks just like anybody else. But think about it. When you come home at the end of the week, your wife, expects you to have a paycheck, right? But you would never come home, I don't guess, and say, hey, honey, you'll never guess how much I won this week at work. Maybe if you got some kind of bonus program going on, you're in sales, maybe, I don't know. But you get my point, right? Now, again, you'll go, well, that's just so petty. But it's important what you think, because everything in this world, everything that you can see that God didn't create, began as a thought. everything you see that God didn't create began as a thought. Thoughts become words, words become actions, and everything that we think, speak, and do today becomes the building blocks of our tomorrow. So if you want tomorrow to be better or different than today, ask yourself, what are you going to do to get the desired results? If you go down the same path, you'll end up in the same place. If you use the same recipe, you'll bake the same cake. I think it was Einstein who said that the definition of insanity is to continue to do the same thing and expect different results. I hesitate when I say that because the last thing I want you to do is to change your swing every time you step up to the plate. That's a surefire way to never become consistently profitable. Back to being consistently profitable. SEM, 10 consecutive days in a row. Reach your goal, 10 trades or less. Go live with one contract. Doesn't matter how many you can afford, just humor me. Go live with one. Then increase your account balance by $2,000 with that one contract. Once you accomplish that, the blueprint will then give you the green light to add a second contract. Now, the reason the second contract is so important, and it should make your heart sing, okay? You're adding that second contract with profit you earned in the market. Now, the funding for the first contract, obviously that's got to come from your savings or wherever you get your money, right? But that second contract, you're adding it with profit you earned. You didn't win it, you earned it. Trading. That's how you build a successful trading business. It's the best way I know of to build a successful trading business. So if your daily goal, as an example, is 2 points in the S&P, it's $100. Won't pay your bills. But after you add the second contract, now it's $200. And at that point, you go on a calendar-based system. Remember, going live, that was performance-based. Adding the second contract, that was performance-based. Now we're going to go to a calendar method. So once you've added that second contract, you'll know by looking at the little schedule when it will be time, if things continue to go well, when you're to add your third contract, your fourth, your fifth. We never add more than one at a time, because when you add that third or that fourth, you want to get yourself adjusted to seeing those numbers, because as those numbers in your DOM or wherever you keep track, whatever you've got open and running, those numbers become drastically different. They can affect how you behave or how you react to a given set of circumstances. So get comfortable at that 3 level. And then the calendar will tell you when you're ready for 4. Anytime you have 2 days back to back where you don't reach your goal in 10 trades or less, come out of the live market, go back into SIM. It's not a walk of shame. It's a wise business decision. Go back to SIM and then book a mentoring session with me, with Michael, with both of us if you want. What we'll do is we'll walk through those trades that led to you having 2 days back to back where you didn't reach your goal. We'll troubleshoot and attempt to figure out, was it something that you did? Maybe some part of the methodology or strategy that you missed? Or perhaps you didn't recognize that the market was not conducive to trading at the time you placed those trades. Once we've finished troubleshooting, we suggest you spend a couple days in sim just to get your confidence back. And if you were on number 5 when this happened, you don't start back at 0. You just step right back out where you left off. And if it happens again, you just repeat the process. Okay? By the time you reach 5 contracts, that's 500 a day, 2,500 a week, 10 grand a month. That's pretty sizable earnings. Once you've earned the right, I can't stress that enough, earning the right to trade 10 contracts, that's a grand a day with 2 points. The same 2 points that you traded in sim, the same 2 points that you traded with 1 contract, those same 2 points at 10 contracts, it's a grand a day. It's $250,000 a year. That puts you in the top 3% of wage earners worldwide. I wish I could promise you that's going to happen for you. Hey, just sign on the dotted line and we're going to make you a trader. We can't make you a trader. I can teach you how to play baseball, but I can't make you a pitcher for the Yankees. Michael and I can teach you everything we know about trading, but we can't make you a profitable trader. No one can. Now, there's a lot of people out there that will tell you real quick that they can, and that they will if you just pay the bill, right? But we answer to a higher authority. We're not going to tell you that. And you know what? We lose a lot of clients for that reason, because we won't lie. Other companies get our clients. You know what? It doesn't make me happy, but it's how it has to be. Some people want blue sky. Some people want to be sold a bill of goods. Even though it sounds too good to be true, people, there's something about our nature, the fallen nature of man, that makes us want to chase what we know is not reality. Or we wish it could be reality. So when you make your decision, who you're going to learn from, and if you don't learn from someone, you won't be around long. So, I'm not trying to say in any way that we're the only people that can teach you how to trade, because we're not. There are other people out there, legitimate, straight up folks, who will teach you how to trade. Now, I don't personally know any of them, but I'm sure they're out there. There has to be. Because when you Google Emini Trading or something, you get a cajillion responses. So, if you want to learn more about us, what we do, how we do it, up on the screen, 94942 Emini, support at CFRN.net. All right, so we know what happened in the S&P. We triggered to the upside. Market handed a $450 per contract move. Then we went from 24.93 up to 98. So that's 5.5 points. 5.5. Okay. And then, now, maybe I haven't mentioned, important prices, important areas are almost always tested. So we got 1 trigger, we got 2 triggers. Our 3rd trigger on the long side, that took us all the way up to 25.23. So that's 30 points if I did my math right. 30 points at $50 a point. It's $1,500 per contract traded. If you've earned the right to trade 10 contracts, you can do the math. Is there enough volume and liquidity to support you trading 10 contracts? Well, if we take a look at just this one 30-minute candle right here, if we hover over this volume bar, that 30-minute period, 207,000 contracts exchanged hands. in that 130-minute candle. And then the next one, 108,000, 90,000, 78,000. The current candle, we have 7 minutes left in the life of this candle. And so far, we've traded 62,000 contracts in the last 27 minutes. Phenomenal. Here it is on a daily chart. So far for the day, we've traded 1.4, 1.5 million. While we're on the daily, let me just point out the big decline. We had the bearish cross, the big decline, the pull back to the BBC, just like what you see on the range chart in the mornings in the live training room. Exact same principle. Bearish cross, price pulls away, price pulls back to touch, down close, get short. Now, blue and climbing came up to meet price, which is different than price coming down to find blue and climbing. But I won't go into that today, maybe tomorrow. So right now, we're at a decision-making point. If we pull fibs from this low to the swing high, we can see we're consolidating right here, or we're holding right here at the 38% fib on a daily chart. Okay? All right. So we've covered the S&P. 9 points, 7 points, 33 points, 23 points. And on the short side, sell 2467, 5 trades out of 1 alert. There's 1, there's 2. In the short trade, 3, 4, 5. And with this green candle building, it looked, the high probability move from here is to trigger again and make a run at these highs. While you're on the trial, you have access to the Concierge Alerts and the Logic 247 alerts. Now, on this chart, this decline originally began on the 31st. Sunday night was the 29th, so that would have been Tuesday. So Tuesday we had an alert to be short 25.49, dropped 100 points to the weekly trading zone below. We bounced into this area. You see how right here we pulled up to the BBC. When we approached the BBC from below, we expect it to be good resistance till it isn't, and it was. So even though we're above the BBC now on this move, bullish cross, leg, retracement, continue the leg, okay? We triggered, had a nice move, 9 points, but price ran into an obstacle. When price runs into an obstacle, resistance, in this case, it's going to turn around and go look for support. Once it finds support, it's going to turn around and go look for resistance. And when it finds it, it's going to then go look for support, which in this case it found at the weekly trading zone, which sent it back up to this area. And that area is now, that cycle repeats itself over and over, endlessly. It's like a loop. Never stops playing. It's been playing since the inception of the markets, and it will continue to play that same loop as long as we have markets to trade that are like the markets you see in front of you right now. This, unless somebody comes in and changes some rules or changes the laws of physics or takes gravity out of the equation, the loop will continue to play. Market's open, ding, ding, ding. First, it's in most cases, well, I don't want to say in most cases, at the opening bell, it's going to take off and go look for either support or resistance. When it finds it, it's going to turn around and go the other way. When it finds what it's looking for, it's going to turn around and go the other way. All these indicators do, they make what's happening easier to see. Now, don't let anyone fool you. There's no indicator in the world that controls the market. Now, in fact, I'm glad I thought of that. You see when price pulls up to the BBC here? Now, in my pattern, in my narrative, I might say, okay, we pulled up to the BBC, and the BBC sent price back down to the weekly trading zone. I really should be careful, okay, because I don't want anybody to misunderstand. No indicator has the power to move the market. The only thing that can move a market, move price, are these guys, the buyers and sellers, order flow. If you don't understand order flow, book a mentoring session. Michael or I'll be happy to spend a little time with you and explain it. That's what drives price. The buyers and sellers in the marketplace, whether you're retail or institutional, this is what controls price. All indicators do are show you, they give you a graphical representation of something that already happened. Okay? And that's okay. My take is that for me, the indicators tell me when I need to go pay attention to price. Like we've got this big sell-off going here, right? Okay. But when price pulls back to the BBC, to this green line, I know I need to pay attention. Because if price closes on the other side and opens on the other side, then the direction of the market just changed and I need to get out of my short position if I'm still in it. If price does the high probability thing, which is a pullback to the BBC, sends price lower, well, I'm good to go. I also need to know that when price gets to this weekly trading zone here, the highest probability thing is for it to send price back up. And resistance will send it back to support. Support will send it back to resistance. Now, when resistance sends it back to support, you've got blue and climbing, red and falling on the way down, support, support, support. Okay. All right, guys, anybody have any questions? Let's see. Let me take a look at the chat box here. Mike B, I think the drug stock John mentioned today was Gilead. I'm not positive. Oh, Aman asked a great question. How do you make everything on a chart go away? Over here on the left-hand side, if you're using DT Pro, this little box here, it acts like a select all. If you watch the stuff on my chart, when I click it, it's going to highlight everything. There you go. So if I hit the delete button right now on my keyboard, all the stuff that's highlighted will go away. I don't want to do that, so I'm going to just tap the button again or hit escape. There we go. All right. So that's how you do it, Amon. Jimmy says, could you please explain again the 5 trades on the 1 alert? Sure, be happy to. Okay, we had an alert. Now, did I might have done this on 2 charts. Maybe it's easier to see on this one. It's cleaner. Yeah, let's do that. I'll use this one. But let me show you this one more time because it has, here's the long trigger. You want to be a buyer. Here's the short trigger. Okay. Now let me go back to the clean chart. Okay. And let me show you the alert one more time. Here's the ES. So the numbers we're working with, we want to be long at or above 24.93. We want to be short at or below 24.67. So you come to your chart, you put the line in the appropriate place, buy 24.93. Okay, and then the short side was 24.67. Okay. This is the candle the alerts came out on. So the first trigger, Jimmy, up here is 24.93. From 24.93, we ran up to 25.02. So that's a 9-point move. Price gets back below the trigger, triggers again, gives us a 5.5-point move. Price then gets back below the trigger, and this time it triggers on the short side. And so from 24.67, from 67 we drop to 24. 67 minus 24, so that's a 43-point drop. Alexa, 43 times 50?
43 times 50 is 2,150.
So it's a $2,150 per contract move. However, getting out at a swing high or a swing low is very difficult because you don't know it's going to be a swing high or swing low until after the fact. So in a case like this, which is an extended move, I'll show you on the other chart what an exit signal looks like. So we had 1 trigger, 2 trigger, 3 trigger, 4 trigger. Oh, right here, this was the 5th one. And the swing high there was 25.15. So 15 and 7, 22. Now, as price approaches the trigger, my suggestion, number one, you've already put lines on your chart, okay? So you know where your triggers are. Go to a smaller time frame. You can use a 5-minute, you can use a 1-minute, you can use the range chart. In fact, let's do that. Okay. Let's shrink it up a little bit. Okay. Now, when you put the indicators on, and again, there's no magic behind the indicators, okay? They're just helping you to see clearly where the high probability entries are that also have low risk. Okay, so over here, I need to open it up a little bit so you can see it. Okay, this arrow just represents when the alerts came out. Okay, so we get a bullish cross as we're heading to the long trigger. A bullish cross, price pulls away, price pulls back. Here's one where you might have entered a little bit ahead of the trigger because that's what the chart is telling you, is to anticipate higher prices. Price then pulls back to the BBC again, goes to the trigger, comes back to the BBC, triggers again, and this is where it gave us that initial 9 points. At $50 a point, that's $450 per contract traded. Then we get a bearish cross. Remember, we're on a 5-minute now. Get a bearish cross, get a leg, a retracement to the BBC. Not interested in going long here because we expect the BBC to be good resistance until it isn't, and it was. Price then gets back above the BBC. We've got blue and climbing. No obstacles, man. Nice move. Okay. Then price comes down, triggers on the short side. There's your bearish cross. This thing had so much downside momentum. We didn't even, it was way over here before we saw a pullback to the BBC. But true to form, what happened is when price pulled back to the BBC, it held, holds more often, then it doesn't. There we go. When we approached the BBC from below, we expected to be good resistance, and it was. So I didn't even count this trigger. See, we had this trigger, then we pulled back, got above the trigger, got above the BBC, resistance, held, sends us back down to blue and climbing, support, which sends us back up to the BBC, which we expect to be good resistance until it isn't, just like here. This time it truly wasn't. And so off we go. This is where we trigger on the long side for this 30-point move. We then come back to the trigger. We walk the line. I mean, I could count out, I could actually on this 5-minute chart, there's just entry after entry. There's one there, there's another one there. The ones I originally showed you, the 5, that's on the, looking at a 30-minute. If you drill down to the 5-minute, you've probably got 10 or more tradable setups. So that's how you integrate the alerts, be it the concierge or the logic alerts. You integrate that with what you've learned about using our indicators. You want the indicators to support the move or the trade that you're about to take. Okay? Okay, let's see. Look at these questions. Let me scroll up, because we just got a bunch of questions. That's good. Okay. Where do you enter and exit if you traded on the alert? Joe, I think I might have covered that. I see you asked that a little bit ago. But if you want some more explanation or definition, just type in "tell me more," and I'll work my way down through the questions. And Tim was commenting on what I said earlier about how you think and the words you speak. His words are, words have a lot of weight, choose wisely. I agree. Tim, I'm not sure what that next comment is, so if you can clarify that for me. Okay, I just answered your question, Jimmy, I think, and if you want more explanation, ask again. Dennis says, how long does it take to learn this and practice? You know, Dennis, different people learn at different speeds. Some people already have experience in the markets, some don't. The experience that you have in the market, that could be negative baggage or not. So each person's unique. I mean, if you have a basic understanding of markets and charts, you know what a candlestick is and that kind of thing, I would think that probably in a couple weeks to 30 days you have a pretty basic understanding of our methodology, because it's so simple. See, we've worked really hard to make it very simple. Most methodologies and strategies, oh my goodness, you really got to be on your toes to learn how to do some of that stuff. And at the end of the day, they don't offer you any better results than this right here. And I know I've looked at the other stuff, bought the other stuff back in the day. Michael and I both. I said this earlier in the show. At some point, he and I owned everything there was, and when there's nothing left to buy, we started rolling our own. Right? Turns out we didn't need it. So Dennis, you know what, Dennis? If you're on the trial, just go hang out in the discussion group. We have a discussion group that people on the trial can actually hang out in, and you'll find some of our regular traders hanging out there, and you can ask them. Ask them how long it took them, and you'll hear all kinds of answers because it takes everybody, different time. Again, your previous experience in the market, you're going to have to let go of it because our method is just so simple. All of that stuff about all these different things you got to know, well, the truth is you don't. So, yeah, come hang out with us and you'll figure out. Water seeks its own level, they say. Not sure what that means, but I think it's appropriate. All right, Williams says, when the price is below the green line, what must align to take a long position? Aren't shorts more likely to be successful in that situation? And what signals further movement in that direction? Well, here's the thing, William. When price is below the BBC, you only want to be looking for short trades. When price is above the green line, you only want to be looking for long trades. I may have said something that caused you to think differently, so if I did, I'm glad you brought it up and I could clarify it. Whether you're on a 5-minute chart, a 30-minute chart. Now, see, this is good trading, right? When price starts to snarl up like this, maybe you go walk the dog. Make a sandwich, a really large sandwich. Hopefully in the morning you had enough time, to take your profit for the day. Because, this is certainly tradable. I'm not saying it isn't, but I just don't particularly like the look. So, but you can see that when price is below the green line, we call it the bull-bear cross. When price crosses below, we're bearish for whatever time frame we're looking at. And when price crosses above, we now look for higher prices. That makes us bullish. And on the 5-minute, same thing. On the daily, same thing. We had a bearish cross back here, February 26th, it looks like, which took us all the way down. But price always reverts to the mean. Now, in the world of trading, always is a very big word. You're not going to hear it used very often. But in this instance, I have no qualms about using it because price always reverts to the mean. And in our case, the mean is just simply bull-bear cross. If I scroll back a little bit on the daily chart. Now, everything I said is true about all markets and all time frames. You'll hear people say, well, crude, and gold, they got different personalities, so you have to trade. You can't trade them the same way. I respect everyone's opinion, but we do. We trade them all exactly the same. We're just looking for a bullish cross, or we're just looking in an uptrend. We're just looking for price to pull back, right? Give us an up close, we get long. If you want, you can wait for price to get above red and falling, not a bad idea. And then when price snuggles back up to blue and climbing, off you go. Now, there was a question about what's the step line for? Okay, you see where this candle closed below the step line? That's what we refer to as an exit signal. Okay, back to the questions. Now, William, I hope that helped. If not, feel free to type in more. Jimmy says, what method did you use to get out of the trade for a profit? Well, as a discretionary trader, Jimmy, you can exit a trade at any spot. Okay. Well, let me show you here. This will help answer the question. Okay, those were the Concierge Trade Alerts. We also have the Logic 247 alerts. And Valerie, that was very timely. I see that you just sent me the recap. Okay. All right, guys. We've just been talking about the Concierge alerts. On the Logic 247 alerts, we've had 36 alerts this week. 4 of them were stopped out. So 11% of the Logic alerts were stopped out this week. We average about 20%. Of late, we've had some really good weeks, but on average, it's 20%. So let me show you what these alerts look like. Okay, so I'll start at the bottom. Okay, we had an alert this morning. Now, this is Pacific time that you see on the chart. Okay, so it's last night. This is last night, 11:53 p.m. Pacific. I'm in Phoenix, but 8 months out of the year, we're on Pacific time. So the idea was to buy 24.95. The first target was 97. The second target was 99. The final trade to target was 25.53/54, which is this weekly trading zone above. Okay, on a long trade, the final trade to target is always the zone overhead. On a short alert, on a short trade, the final trade to target is always the weekly trading zone below. Now, on this alert here, we made it up to the second target from 95 to 99. We actually continued on higher. So just as I was talking to Dr. Tom about, just because there's a target at 24.99 doesn't mean you have to get out there. If the chart supports you staying in the trade, by all means, stay in the trade. On the Russell, we were selling 1057. On the NQ, we were selling 74.72. Had a target at 62, another target at 52, and now a target at 73.09, or the weekly trading zone. Okay, so these alerts are based on current price behavior. The Concierge alerts are based on previous price behavior. So when you see the two sync up, Concierge, previous price action, Logic, current, when you see those two fingers pointing at the same price, same area, wow, that's really time to slow down and take a good look at that. And I don't want anyone trading the alerts just for the sake of trading an alert, because then you're not really learning anything. What I want you to do is, when an alert comes out, is I want you to go to your chart. I want you to understand why it's an alert, why we're entering here, why we've got a target here. And you have free, unfettered access to me through the Telegram channel. So whenever we put out an alert, or I make any kind of commentary, and there's tons of commentary in the discussion group, if you're on the trial and you haven't been hanging out with the guys there, you're missing a big part of your trial. Okay? So, you can message me anytime, publicly or privately, in Telegram. Most people just ask me right out in front of God and everybody, because we're very transparent. So whatever answer I give you is the same answer I would give to someone else. And when you ask questions in the public channel and I answer, it gives everybody an opportunity to learn. Thumbs up means price found the target. A red X means it was stopped out. And Z's mean it just never triggered. Now, in the live training room, we risk 8 ticks on every trade. Every market, every trade, 8 ticks. Because we're trying to teach you the setup. We don't want you worrying about the stop loss at that point. But we want you to understand that you have to use a hard stop on every trade without fail. Once you've got the setup down, and you and I start having one-on-one mentoring sessions together, that's when I'm going to teach you about market structure, and I'm going to teach you how to place your stop loss based upon where the chart tells you you should place your stop loss. Depending upon how long you've been at this business of trading, this may look like gibberish, or it may make perfect sense. My job, if you hire me, is to help you transition this from gibberish to perfect sense. Better said, logic. Everything that I do and teach is rooted in logic. Just like Spock would say, well, that's very logical. The way I look at the markets and the way I'll attempt to teach you to look at markets is in a very logical manner. And you won't find some new trick every other day, which has a price tag. No, when you become a CFRN passport holder, you're done paying for trading stuff. We provide everything a trader needs under one roof, one low price. And it really is low. It's so low I can't say it on the air. I'm just kidding. Boy, I crack myself up. No, seriously. A lot of the places out there today, because people are desperate, right? There's people charging 10 grand, 20 grand, 27 grand. And who am I to judge what the value is of their program? I mean, if their program does half of what they say it does, wow, it's probably a bargain at that price. But yeah, I don't know, and it's not my job to judge what anyone else does. Okay? We've managed to keep our price lifetime under 5 grand. If that shocks you, if that scares you, then the business of trading probably isn't for you. But 9 out of 10 traders will fail simply because they don't have a teacher. You can join a room, you can buy indicators, you can buy books, and you can access the videos and all kinds of things. But that's not the same as having a teacher. Ask someone who had a teacher. If 9 out of 10 traders fail, then that means 1 out of 10, I guess, succeeds, just based on the math. Track down that one successful guy and ask him, hey, did you have a teacher? 9 times out of 10, they'll go, yeah, of course. How else would I learn? See, that shows you right there the difference in how people think. Some people come into trading and never think of hiring a teacher. Well, I'm just going to do it. Other people, well, the answer is, how else would I learn? Of course I had a teacher. So, anyway, I hope you're well. I hope your family's well. I hope you're in good health. And if there's anything we can do here to help you, be it in the realm of trading or anything else, we have some real prayer warriors. You got prayer requests, you need somebody to counsel with you, pray with you, go to our discussion group. Valerie will give you access. There's always somebody there that's got time to talk, time to pray. I'm really excited about what God has done here. It's everything Michael and I ever dreamed of back in the day when we were a couple of naive, young, mixed up, crazy kids, but here it is. The hand of God at work. Now, good word for the day. Read the fine print. Amos 3:3. Can two walk together unless they are agreed? When it comes to forming relationships, read the fine print. Somewhere in the fine print of meeting, dating, and interacting with someone, it warns you, maybe ever so slightly, that they were going to be a certain way. The red flags were always there. Even though they started out as a lovely shade of pale pink, you saw how quickly he got angry. You knew she was always late when you picked her up. He invariably went into a panic checking every line item on the restaurant bill. She never failed to flirt with the waiter and anyone else that looked her way. You noticed, but you did not listen to that little voice inside. Before you order something, it's always wise to read the fine print to make sure you can afford the payments. Maybe the fine print became obvious when you saw how he interacted with his family, or didn't. Maybe it was in the way his eyes lingered on every woman who walked by, or in the phone calls she took out of earshot whenever you were around. Chances are you saw it, but you didn't pay attention. You overlooked the temper tantrums, the possessiveness, the jealousy, the lack of integrity, thinking that you could change the other person, or that they would simply change for you. Now you know better. There's a reason the Bible asks, can two walk together unless they are agreed? Yes, the God who gives beauty for ashes can change your partner's heart, Isaiah 61:3. But if you're dating or considering a long-term relationship, pray about it and do yourself a favor. Read the fine print. And that's our good word for the day. One final word about this note up in the corner of the screen. Okay, 0 down, the no payments. Okay, we've had a long-standing relationship with PayPal. They know we take care of business. That's why they're willing to extend that offer to our clients. However, what we do not want is we do not want you going into debt to learn how to trade. It's okay to use other people's money. Businessmen do it all the time. That's how tall buildings get built. OPM, other people's money. Okay? If you decide to take this offer, they offer you it when you're in the checkout process. You get the link from Valerie, you click it, you're checking out, they make you the offer. Okay? Understand that at the end of 6 months, they want to get paid. If you don't have the money, then you'll start making payments at probably a pretty high interest rate. I think I heard Michael mention 20% or something. So if you're going to use that, I want you to agree to do this. Every month, you're going to put away 1/6 of the total cost in your bank account, earning whatever interest you can earn, so that when the 6 months over, you have the money saved to pay it off in full, so you never have to pay a penny of interest. If you're not willing to make that agreement, and I'm not asking you to make it with me, make it with yourself. If you're not willing to make that agreement with yourself, then maybe now's not the right time. Okay? All right. Thanks so much for tuning in. Whoever you are, wherever you are, may God continue to richly bless you with His mercy and with His grace. And I'll see you at the bell.
Remember this, there is no greater return on investment than to see a human life changed and given hope. As always, pray hard and trade safe. Any financial information discussed on this show is simply the opinion of our host, Dwayne Reeves, his co-hosts, and guests. To learn more about trading Emini Futures or to take a 1-week free trial in our live trading room, call 1-866-928-3310. 866-928-3310. Information discussed on this radio program should not be construed as a recommendation to buy or sell any security. Always do your own due diligence and consult with a licensed securities broker or financial planner before making any investment decision.